The Day of the African Child was first celebrated in Kenya in June 1991 and has since become an annual event celebrated not only nationally but also in all the counties and sub-counties in the country.
This day is so crucial to the African child because it is a day that we remember how rights and welfare of children should be handled.
In order to mitigate the effects of conflict and crisis, the ministry, through the Department of Children's Services, is implementing Orphans and Vulnerable Children, or OVC, cash transfer to orphans and vulnerable children in all the constituencies in Kenya. By the year 2016, more than 257,000 households with orphans and vulnerable children were benefiting from the cash transfer program, while over 10,000 children were getting the presidential bursary to cater to their education.
Siku kubwa. Sarafina tona hatukuachi nyuma. Tazama ambavyo wanachukua, wanaenda mos pole pole tamu tamu. Leo ni siku ya watoto hawa. This is a great day which we have been waiting for long a time. Tazama smiles katika nyuso za watoto hawa. Leo ni siku kubwa.
In peace-building processes, sexual violence is rarely mentioned, while the latter is usually used as a weapon for war. The IRC, being cognizant of this fact, has developed a programming that seeks to ensure safety of children in their homes, communities, and schools. A cultural system like many African cultures that frowns at discussions on sexual issues and blame placed on the survivors of violence has contributed to the low reporting of issues of sexual violation and abuse.
Mimi mtoto yatima ninahitaji haki zangu, Bwana nirehemu. Najiweka katikati ya ulimwenguni, katikati ya ulimwenguni, ni okowe. Viongozi wetu tuokowe.
Adults, we have a bigger responsibility. Children have nothing, they don't participate in a lot of our conflicts, but they felt the impact of the conflict really affects them. The violation of children's rights, especially during conflict, is a lot. So I just want to call all of us, let's join hands, let's observe peace, let's sit together so that these children can enjoy the life that they require. I think today, that is what the children want to hear. They just want to hear that adults, we are going to stand and rally before them and against them, that any conflict that comes, then we'll be able to stand and be able to ensure that they are safe.
Unfortunately, mostly in conflicts, children are mostly affected, whether it's being recruited as armed soldiers, whether it's being exploited sexually or physically, whether it's being brought out of school or being forced in early marriage or child marriage. So jointly, we should really continue to work together, and UNICEF does that in collaboration, of course, with the government partners, with the community members, with other civil society organizations, with parents, teachers, health workers, families, children and young people themselves. So I would also like to just reiterate our commitment to this cause together, and then we look forward also in Uganda, where there's a very strong gender and child protection network to continue to embrace and realize the rights of children in Uganda.
Leo ni siku yenu. Leo ni siku kuu. Naona salsa imeanza kushika.
As we celebrate this day, let us recognize the issue that affect the child, the girl child in Kenya, and in particular, the Turkana girl child. One such issue is the child marriage. Worldwide, more than 700 million women live today, who are alive today, who are married as children. More than 1 in 3, or some 250 million, were married before 15 years. Girls who marry before they turn 18 are less likely to remain in school and more likely to experience domestic violence. Adolescent girls are more likely to die due to complications in pregnancy and childbirth than women in their 20s.
We're here to celebrate. We're here to celebrate children's rights and to hear from the children themselves what they have to say about our joint responsibility to ensure that children have their rights to survival, to development, to protection and participation. That's why it fills me with such joy to see so many children speaking for themselves today. There is nothing more powerful than children talking about themselves and about their own aspirations and their rights to education and to other things.
We are no longer marginalized because the devolution is here with us. But despite of that, we have some challenges that a Kenyan child, a Turkana child faces. We have the issue of drought. During drought, there are so many families which are displaced, and mostly the children are the ones who are affected. We have widows-led families, so some children become the head of the families just because of these challenges. We have also heard of the HIV, families led by children. There is a challenge of the state of primary and secondary schools.
Conflict. I dislike you, Mr. Conflict. You have killed, maimed, and injured. Destroy our precious children. Protecting the rights of children is our collective responsibility.
The African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child was adopted by the Organization of African Units, presently the African Union, and it came into force in 29 November 1999. As an African Union member, Kenya has continued to show its commitment to this charter in many ways, including the commemoration of the Day of the African Child. This year's celebrations are focusing on conflict and crisis in Africa, protecting all children's rights. I therefore urge all relevant stakeholders to proactively work together with families and communities to restore the values and promotion of positive parenting.
Educate a girl and you educate the whole family. My message to you, the county of Turkana, and I'm happy the county government is represented here. We would like you to still work very hard on the girl child.
We all agree that Kenya is one of the African countries that have been touched by conflicts and crisis issues that have really affected our children in many areas, that has touched areas like survival, development, areas in protection and participation.
It is our right. According to me, I was thinking about it. This celebration is just for children, not for the hardened. So to make us to be happy because it is our day, we're supposed to celebrate. We have a lot of violences that attack us in this Turkana County. This is the first one, is about education. We are lacking education. This is the Duro school fees. The Minister for Education, why don't you provide us that secondary school, which it is day school?
Every event that comes to pass in a child's life counts. A very good question we should ask ourselves is if we will be building or destroying their lives. Turkana. I understand that the child in Turkana has many a times been facing academic challenges since cattle rustling and has displaced them and others perishing. Community clashes have divided communities and built inheritable hatred. I urge children to be the pioneer of change, live in harmony for a better tomorrow. Children have been suffering both psychologically and physically.
When there is a conflict, the people who suffer most are children. And that is the message we sent to Lodwar because of the conflicts in Turkana. When there is cattle wrestling, the people who suffer a lot are the children. And this really affects the rights and welfare of children.
The ministry is committed to actualizing the provisions of the law towards upholding the rights and welfare of the child as guided by the policy and frameworks that exist, to do so by collaborating with other stakeholders in their implementation.
That has necessitated us to come up with a new statute on children. And we already have a draft bill, Children's Bill 2016, and we have already aligned the Children's Bill with the Constitution. And I want to make an appeal that the stakeholders assist the Department of Children and the Ministry to implement the various provisions of the Children's Act, the Constitution dealing with children, so that children can be able to get the rights as enshrined in the Children's Act.